Hi guys, everything.
Welcome guys, thanks for joining us. This is another session of Know Your Operator. This time around we're hosting Blockscape, who recently joined as a successful and happy operator to the network. Welcome guys, it'd be great if you could introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about what brings you here today.
Volker, the word is yours.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Volker. I'm the business developer at a role in the Blockscape team, and thank you for having me here. Great.
Happy to have you with us.
Yeah, guys, hi. My name is Fabian. I'm a software engineer at Blockscape. Happy to be here. Pretty cool, yeah.
Happy to have you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Perfect.
All right. Cool. So usually before we get started, we just want to hear a little bit about, your story, how you got started. Really quickly, run us down through your rise to success, so to speak.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, Blockscape Network is part of the Amway group, and I'm founder of Amway, and Amway is specialized in creating mobile applications, and we have also created several products in the mobile space. So we have a long history in mobile app development, more than 15 years now. And 4 years ago, we started to jump in the blockchain technology stack. And like a lot of companies there, we started with Ethereum mining. So with very simple, customized Ethereum miners, yeah. And we learned a lot about that, but I thought, I don't believe it's the right way to burn energy, and there should be something what is more efficient, or there should be a technology which does not using so much energy. And so we started to sort out a lot of technologies, and I stuck with the proof of stake networks, and so we jumped in the Cosmos ecosystem, and then we started to do a lot of things in the Cosmos ecosystems, starting to create validators, or even in the test nets. We started very early with Cosmos. I believe it was 0.6 or something like that of the Cosmos SDK when I started to play a little bit around with it and dig in there. But I was totally fascinated about that, and I thought this could be the right approach for the future. Maybe it's not the right time 4 years ago, but it's the right direction. And then I thought we go therein. And yeah, it was, from my point of view, it was the right decision. Yeah. And now we see Ethereum is going in the same direction. So we are now with Ethereum 2 in the same boat. And yeah, it feels good.
So you've been in the space long enough to see the whole spectrum. That's very cool.
Yeah, right.
Could you tell us a little bit more about what Blockscape is focusing on today, what POS blockchains you're running, how that whole process looks like?
Okay, yeah. Right now, Fabi, help me, but round about we are in more than 50 networks at the moment.
I don't have the exact numbers, but I think it's about 15 mainnet chains.
Right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we are right now in more than 50 networks. Yeah, and the core part of Blockscape at the moment is to provide reliable, high secure validating services. So this is the core approach at the moment. We are also playing with a lot of technologies and looking around how we could create applications or products on the top of it. But our core business in the heart of us is to provide really resilient, high secure services for stakers or for investors that would like to stake their tokens to our validator services.
So you mentioned 15. I'm kind of curious to know exactly how the process of selecting, the blockchains that you're going to work with, or vetting the technology, or the entire onboarding process, if you will, looks like from your end.
Okay, it's natural that we are looking for Cosmos-based blockchains. So, of course, it is natural for us. It's easier to maintain Tendermint-driven stacks or networks or chains. And we are very focused on this kind of technology. But it is also crucial to have a good understanding of the other technologies in the market around. So we also evaluating Kusama and also Polkadot, yeah. But we are really focused what is happening in the Cosmos ecosphere.
So the main focus is still going to be Cosmos moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We believe on Cosmos and their technology stack, and this is where we are focused.
It's usually when we host people on this segment, we usually get 9 out of 10, it's an Ethereum guy talking to us. It's someone that's here because of Ethereum.
Sure,
it's someone that's an Ethereum, moon boy, whatever you want to call it. Let's focus 1 second on the Cosmos side. I really want to hear from Cosmos guys, the Cosmos side of the story,
Sure. Yeah, but we're coming from there, and a few. What is also important to know about that is that the staking was established with this stack, yeah. So, and now with Ethereum, we have the same opportunities now, and we believe also on liquid staking and the approaches there, and so. It was crucial for us to go there, to have Ethereum also as a part of our ecosystem, yeah? Because we started with Ethereum and now we're coming back to Ethereum, especially in ETH2. And we see now how the blockchain technologies can be joined. And especially also the bridging stuff, it could be very crucial in the future, where we will see a lot of different DeFi products. They are very major on the Ethereum side, coming also to the Cosmos side and vice versa. And this makes it very interesting for us. And this is the reason why we said we would like to go back to the Ethereum stack and provide there our knowledge in our services on the Ethereum side.
I have to ask it because it's I don't know if it's overstepping, but Polkadot versus Cosmos versus the future of ETH. It's the $1 million question, but again,
right.
Starting a war right now.
That's true. Yeah.
So I'll ask it off the record. No, I'm kidding. So really, you started off from the Ethereum side, moved on to the Cosmos side, doing a 360 all the way back to Ethereum, and then bringing the know-how from Cosmos.
Right. Yeah.
It sounds like a crazy journey. Yeah. So since you guys are definitely POS focused, and since you guys are, you started from the OG POS back with the Cosmos before we Ethereum guys even knew what staking was all about.
Yeah.
From your perspective, seeing that you guys are seeing Ethereum joining and other protocols joining, what is next in staking, in your opinion?
I mentioned it a little bit. I believe the next very interesting story could be the liquid staking, so that we will have protocols that on one hand we stake the tokens, but on the other hand, the tokens are still valid to use it on other protocols. Yeah, so we are still at the beginning of this approach, but it could be one of the big next steps, especially also if we're considering the DeFi market there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think aside from liquid staking protocols, like Lido, for example, I think the cross-chain staking stuff is also pretty interesting. Looking outside of the boundaries of blockchain ecosystems, staking using one token to stake on another blockchain. All this interconnected space between blockchains is pretty interesting, I think. Something that Cosmos is kind of leading the charge in. Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty interesting to observe what's going to happen in that space too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that now that we're finally wrapping our heads around what this whole tokenomics or the incentivization behind the entire staking mechanism, staking process. Obviously, Alon will be a lot more equipped to answer those questions, but it opened a whole new world for us that, DeFi is only getting started.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, at the beginning there. Yeah. So, but of course, Ethereum is the most reliable, the most adopted blockchain technology from the developer's perspective. From my side, and it is the most major stack there, and so I believe in the Ethereum will be in the pole position if we're talking about staking in the next evaluations. Yeah, so there are a lot of things going on, especially with smart contracts, what is possible there, and we will see. I believe we will see a lot of new, very exciting protocols, especially on layer 1, not on layer 2, on staking.
Yeah, I mean, considering that Ethereum is the biggest collateral on between all the DeFi protocols,
right?
If you look into the future, there's not a lot of sense to hold pure Ethereum locked somewhere. I mean, if you already kind of took the mental passage in using DeFi protocols, there's no reason to not compound your collateral as ETH. I see a big shift there. I would imagine that the big DeFi protocols, which hold a lot of Ether, I would imagine they will do some kind of a move towards liquid staking as well, just because the amount of ETH they're holding. Each one of them, I would imagine it's for them to create their own liquidity tokens for their collateralized ETH is something they must think of. And so, and also, we are within the ssv community. We always talk about layer 0. So you have layer 1, which is execution, layer 2, which is an extension of layer 1. Layer 0 is what basically secures layer 1. And up until this point, it was really the mining pools. But because the mining pools were kind of disconnected from everything, they were a whole kind of a world of their own. But today, layer 0 could be kind of the infrastructural components of staking, and the distance between them and DeFi and everything else that happens on the Ethereum is much shorter. So I would imagine to see a lot of interoperability between those different layers, because each one of them holds value, but that value needs to kind of move around between those layers. So it's going to be interesting to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree totally with you. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. What do you think about the layer 2 protocols? What's your
I think it's amazing. I think that so today layer 2 mostly talks about scale.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably the best approach, because building everything on top of layers 1 and expecting layer 1 to scale so quickly in such a short time is too much. I think that layer 2s could be extending that scale issues, and of course you still need layer 1, but layer 1 can be slower to develop in terms of scale. But I think that another untapped kind of thing is that layer 2 can extend functionality which you don't have in Ethereum, for example. And there's a lot of development towards that path, but there's nothing preventing it. So if you do have layer 2 solutions which are really, really good, there's nothing preventing you in creating stuff on layer 2 which is an extension of Ethereum itself. And what is that extension? That's a good question. I don't know, but you could extend functionality to Ethereum, and that is important because if you go forward into the future, in 5 years' time, Ethereum won't be able to do the kind of the switch that it did from proof of work to proof of stake as easily as it did today. It's just going to be too big. And so you'll see slower and slower iterations in terms of versions and features coming out of on layer 1. And so you'll have to do those features on layer 2. You'll just have to do those features there. And so I see layer 2 as an extension, not just for scale, but a lot of other stuff into the future. Kind of like you have, the kind of the fundamental protocols on the World Wide Web, right? You have UDP, TCP, which are very, very fundamental transport protocols, but people build so many things on top of them. And so you'll see that extension. And so then, TCP and UDP can slowly progress and get better. And they're not the bottleneck anymore in terms of innovation. So layer 2, layer 1 will be amazing. And I think the emergence of layer 0 is going to be pretty fundamental as well.
It makes sense. Yeah, great. Okay, thanks. Cool.
I would love to know what you guys think about layer 2 from the from your Cosmos perspective of things.
That's a really good question. Yeah, we have a little bit experience with the IBC protocol and how we can bring together Ethereum and a Cosmos stack, and it's a completely different approach from my point of view on the Cosmos side. So IBC is some kind of layer 2. I'm not sure if this is the right description for that, but it is the option to bring together the services and the chains. And I see an opportunity that we can bring layer 2 protocols also on the Cosmos side and vice versa. So we can manage protocols over chains. So we can start a smart contract on the Ethereum side, and we can handle some parts on the Cosmos side and then bring back the results on the Ethereum side. So, and then we will find very new economics at that point. If you think about the gas price or something like that, I see a lot of opportunities there, but I'm not sure if it's really realistic to achieve this in the next 1 or 2 years.
You always need to dream ahead,
Yeah, I also think in terms of scaling, Cosmos doesn't need any layer 2 solutions. It scales pretty well by default by their sovereign chains that just connect to each other via IBC. I think just what Volker pretty much said, these interconnecting parts between blockchains, those could be interesting in terms of layer 2. But other than that, I think Cosmos already is sort of like layer 1.5, let's call it, something in between.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that, look, I'm like personally, I'm very pessimistic about having multiple Ethereum-like chains. I think Ethereum will be, 80-90% of the network of the market. But I think that there's stuff, and again, as Ethereum grows bigger, it's slower to adopt anything. And so you'll see stuff like Cosmos, which is probably a good definition, like layer 1.5, like something in between L1 and L2. Taking a lot of those more advanced stuff that just Ethereum will be slow to adapt just because of its size. And so I would imagine that a lot, by the way, I think in that terms might be a lot of centralized services will be decentralized on stuff like Cosmos, where the compromise between, it's kind of always a trade-off, right? To say Ethereum is more decentralized, but it's slower in terms of TPS, and Cosmos is less decentralized, but it's more prone to TPS. But what if you look at it on a completely different way? What if you look at it as a way to decentralize centralized services? And so Cosmos could be that platform, and of course, that's much better than centralized services. You'll have maybe very centralized services distribute as smart contracts on on Cosmos, enjoying a higher TPS with a much more, let's say, blockchain-oriented security architecture. And so I think there's a lot. I was in the past much more kind of pessimistic about it, but I do think there's a lot of things that as Ethereum grows, it will be slower to catch on. Yeah. And I think that extending that functionality is smart. Not everything has to be 100% decentralized, hardcore, CryptoPunk-like. And so, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. And specifically Cosmos, I think it's one of the most amazing projects I've seen. I think the way they think about developers is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's true. I agree.
Totally agree.
I agree also if you say Ethereum will cover more than 90% at the end of the day of the market. Yeah, definitely. Ethereum is the most major protocol on the market, but I believe for some other project, it makes sense to have other technologies to involve the next steps. And you see it now with Ethereum 2, that a lot of ideas from staking coming now to the Ethereum stack. So it could be invented by other chains, but it will come later on to Ethereum. Yeah, at the beginning it was vice versa. Yeah, Ethereum started and had this smart contract technology on board, and it was pretty simple to create a smart contract and created all these amazing protocols. Yeah, but like you mentioned, it's getting bigger and bigger, the Ethereum space. So I believe a lot of other chains will evolve now, new technologies. And then it will be adapted somehow, not exactly one by one, but somehow even on the Ethereum 2 stack. So, yeah.
It's funny you say that, because historically Litecoin was always the silver and Bitcoin was always the gold, right? And people always said Litecoin is the kind of the test network for or the test mainnet for Bitcoin. And I would imagine that Ethereum will have similar things, and again, just because of size, as bigger you are, the slower you can get things implemented. But if you have other change, and again, 10% out of what? Like 10% out of a $5 trillion is still a lot of money, and it's still a lot of space for growth. And so I see a lot of room for those kinds of blockchains. And I think that and also in terms of just pure competition, I think, if you want to have a better Ethereum, you need to keep it on its toes. I think having projects like EOS and others pushing or trying to kind of push Ethereum aside, I think made Ethereum better.
Great.
And so yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of space. What I would say is that anyone who's tuned in to talk about Ethereum is going to be deeply disappointed by this call. You're talking about Cosmos, yeah.
I hope not.
From my side, for the past 6-7 years, every couple months you see the new Ethereum killer. This is going to be the Ethereum slayer. This is going to end Ethereum. I think that this year, now that we're getting closer to the merge, and we'll touch on it later, I mean, that question is sort of out of the way. So the competition, or what they're competing on, is, that 10-20%, like Alon mentioned. In my opinion, it's going to be dedicated to a specific use case. So each one of those guys will grab its own niche within, the range of things that they're currently promising to deliver, and give you that, focus on that one thing that Ethereum is not agile enough to get to. Maybe security, storage, whatever it is. Definitely going to be interesting. And you already beat me to my next point. So, by the way, this is a perfect opportunity to tell you guys congratulations on the new development. It will be great for you guys to explain what it's all about. But I'd love to talk about the Ethereum Cosmos relationship. We've been talking about it, DeFi taking ideas from Ethereum, taking to Cosmos, and vice versa. I'll extend it and ask you guys if you could pick one thing, DeFi, anything Ethereum related, bring it to Cosmos, and the other way around. What would it be? I'd love to hear that.
That's a great question.
Yeah, really great question. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, give me time to think about that.
If you see you grabbing your heads, that I know I hit the nail exactly where I had to. I mean, it's great. You could start by telling us about the bridge that you guys built.
Yeah, what I still see in the Ethereum space is the gas costs are still high, yeah, and there are a lot of approaches to reduce the gas costs, and for a lot of protocols and even for projects, the high gas cost could be a risk for a project which is running on the top of Ethereum, yeah, and with the Cosmos bridge, we get the opportunity to run some functionality on the Cosmos side much cheaper. And then we can bring back the functionality at the end of the day, if the calculation is done or some other stuff, bring it back then later on the Ethereum side. So it is a little bit like a sidecar, yeah? So I can, or coprocessor called coprocessor. So is there something what I could do aside? And then if it's calculated or it's proceeded, I can bring it back on the Ethereum side. And this could be an opportunity for this bridge technology. And on the other hand, it brings also money or capitalization also on the Cosmos side and vice versa. It is easier to let flow the money or the tokens behind that. Yeah.
Awesome. So do you have the answer for my previous question now?
Not at all.
That's fair enough. I mean, it's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one.
It's a tough one, yeah.
Right. I would love to touch a little bit about SSV.
Yeah, sure.
Tell us about, how it's been like for you guys so far. What piqued your interest with SSV in particular, and what led you to, join as an operator?
Yeah, we like I mentioned at the beginning, we believe on the staking and we believe also on liquid staking, and we are working on ideas and products which are running on the top of this idea. So everything what we can do to improve the protocols to provide staking services and building products around them is crucial for us. So SSV is a great opportunity there. And it was, for us, it was coming from the operator side. It was really funny and very efficient to set up an SSV validator or to run the operator services there. So you did an excellent job, and you bring a lot of opportunities to the staking side, because it makes very easy for non-custodial services now to set up validators.
That's a great question. What usually comes at this point of the discussion is sort of like a section about open-ended questions, sort of questions that usually come up from our community or come up from Twitter, whatever it is, and are opinionated. So the first and the $1 million question that we ask everyone is, where do you guys see the Ethereum ecosystem with the upcoming merge or post the upcoming merge?
Fabi?
Great question. I think it's going to be really interesting to see like how validator numbers generally like stabilize over time in relation to the ETH burning rate and like staking rewards in general, especially when withdrawals are getting enabled. I think that's going to cause a big surge in new validators to go online, which I think makes the whole ecosystem or the whole blockchain like more robust, more secure. That's like the driving motor of Ethereum, right? The more people stake their Ether, which there's really no reason not to stake them at this point, especially with SSV. That just creates a great feedback loop. I think that puts Ethereum post-merge in a very good spot.
Actually, just checked. We are almost at 8 million ETH at stake, which is absolutely.
That's crazy. Yeah,
really crazy. Yeah.
I remember Alon's predictions before the beginning of the year. We thought, by the end of the year we'll get to maximum 4 million.
Yeah, 4 or 5 million.
Stretching it,
Your dreams are tiny.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that you touched on one of the most interesting things for me in staking, and that's the small sentence that you mentioned. There is no reason not to stake ETH.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, for people that have been in the space long enough, I can talk about myself. With all the centralized exchanges, all the different lending solutions, protocols up till now, I mean, not that I'm saying that there aren't good alternatives out there. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't feel comfortable enough sending my ETH elsewhere, hoping, it'll compound and get back to me with more money. Now I literally don't have to, it doesn't leave my wallet, doesn't move anywhere else. So for me, it opened a huge opportunity for someone that, like myself, I'm a hodler. I'm kind of a, long time hodler. I don't plan on moving it anywhere. I don't want to do anything with it. And now all of a sudden I have this amazing avenue, this amazing opportunity to why not just stake it? Why not just do something with it? And I think that's for me the biggest game changer. I mean, once it hits my pocket exactly the spot I wanted it, with the security I need and the guarantees, that's enough for me.
Yeah. I think on that note, there's never been a lack of lowering the entry barrier, right? It's been pretty easy to stake your Ether, but what you also touched on was this component of trust. You didn't get to choose who you wanted to trust. You had to trust a given person or a given set of node operators. And this is slowly about to change. Especially with SSV right now, you get to choose your operators. You get to choose who you want to trust. You get this combined effort between those node operators that collaborate to make your staking experience really good. I think that's a great step forward, this decentralizing of trust.
Yeah, I think the operators will probably be the biggest gainers here. Of course, the users are, because they're getting a better technology and more security. But right. I think that today operators basically have to do. They have several parts to their business. One part is being the best operator they can be. Yeah. And the second part is being the best marketing operator they can be. And I think that some are better than that, some are worse than that. But other than just the pure technological advantage in using SSV, I think that operators can gain a lot of inflow of ETH going to them, because if you are a really good operator in a network, you can amplify your value. In comparison to being a standalone operator, and you need to compete with everyone on every Ether coming in. You can really amplify your voice and amplify your impact within a network. And your performance speaks for itself. I mean, right. One of the absurdities today in staking in Ethereum is that there is no comparison between operators. There's no website you're going and say, this operator is better than that one. The only real time you're hearing about operators is when they get slashed. And of course, that's kind of a very extreme event. But other than that, there's not a lot of comparison because it's not transparent. Most of the big operators or the big staking services don't even mark their validators as such. If you go to Kraken or Binance, nobody knows what we try to kind of reverse engineer which validators are theirs, but they don't show it off because they don't want that exposure. And I think that that's exactly the exposure you want in a layer zero, kind of the basis of your Ethereum ecosystem. You want accountability. You want to understand what's happening. And I think that it's kind of the same movement we saw with DeFi. The biggest question with DeFi was always, why do you need decentralized exchanges? You have so great exchanges with Coinbase. You really think that the decentralized exchanges will be more secure than Coinbase or Binance and so on. And that wasn't really the question. What happened with DeFi was that once you go decentralized, you enjoy all of the security stuff, but the biggest thing was interoperability and openness and innovation. That's the biggest driving factor behind DeFi today. Like nobody even talks anymore about why it's decentralized. But being decentralized is what made it so big, because all of a sudden Uniswap can talk with Compound and vice versa, and you don't need API keys, and there's everything happens on chain and so on and so forth. And so that's the biggest gain. And I think that that's kind of the same what hopefully will happen with SSV, is that once you open everything up and everyone can join, anyone can use it, and it's transparent, it's public, it's open, then a lot of innovation can happen on top of it. And the higher the number on the right side of the L in layer, the more security sensitive it is. And so layer 2s can be less security sensitive, because if one of those solutions fails, it doesn't mean Ethereum failed. But if layer 0 fails, and layer 0 is not just SSV, but everything that has to do with securing Ethereum, if that fails, Ethereum fails, and then of course layer 2 fails. And so that you have that incremental responsibility, and so you have to have a strong foundation for Ethereum to exist on. And I think that we have to come up with good decentralized solutions for the sake of Ethereum, because otherwise it will be very decentralized, and it's centralized in a much worse way than proof of work. Proof of work was very centralized, but because at the end of the day you had people and companies with physical devices running, if you wanted to move from one pool to another, you switch on, you switch off, and nothing really happens other than that. And so, but with proof of stake, you're pretty much locked to your service provider, and of course most service providers are great. Like it's not to say that the leading staking services are in anywhere want anything other than the best for Ethereum, but we really need to think about it, because you're locking your ETH, you're completely dependent on somebody, and I think that that's a bad situation for everyone, because it only really takes, and we saw a few light examples of that, but it only really takes, let's say, a small to medium size operator to fail badly to project on everyone. All of a sudden, everything doesn't work, right? And you can get the network stuck and so on. So it's in some ways proof of stake is much more advanced than proof of work, but in some ways, its tendency for centralization, it could be an issue. And so I'm a true proponent of, I always say that decentralization and privacy are the two things that nobody cares about until they care about. And it's really the only two things that separate blockchain from the traditional financial system. Like there's nothing else. Like you have good developers here and you have good developers there. You have cryptography here and you have cryptography there. The only thing that separates it is decentralization, nothing else. If you take that component apart or you underestimate it, then you'll end up quickly with a very centralized system. And so with that philosophy, I really hope to see a lot of improvement in staking and layer 0 stuff, because I think it's crucial.
Yeah. I think that this is maybe the first real time where they're lowering the barriers of entry for the layer 0s and the lower layers, because up till now, even if you had the technical ability to run a miner of any sort, even on a smaller chain, just to generate your rewards, you'd get a big shark coming in and overpowering you pretty quickly. This decentralized quote unquote system consolidated into something held by 4 or 5 big companies. So now when the staking on Ethereum just got started, I had my doubts. I even shared it with my team. Look at Kraken, look at those guys, they're huge. They're managing all this ETH at stake. How is it different than anything that we've seen before? But now slowly but surely we're seeing these technologies, these options coming in, lowering the barriers of entry.
Right.
Eventually it'll be less than 32 ETH to open your own validator. It'll be completely non-custodial, completely decentralized, all the nice buzzwords that you need inside there. And then it's a game changer for the average Joe who wants to protect the network, secure the network, and then make money at the same time. Because it was usually either or. Either I go to Nexo or the likes and make some money, or I secure the network and don't really make any money. Now I'm seeing sort of almost reaching this equilibrium point.
Yeah, and here is ssv network is doing a great job, yeah, because with this technology, it's still non-custodial, yeah. On the other hand, my stake is protected by this operating service. Yeah, it's not. You are not relying on one operator. You are relying on a party of operators. They are working together and protect the key and keep it secure. Yeah, and this is the most crucial stuff from my point. And on the other hand, it is still in my wallet. I can't stress it enough. Yeah, it is. Everything is still in my wallet, and I don't give out any keys to somebody. Yeah? And this makes it so efficient from my point of view. And this is what SSV makes different in the staking services. And this is what I like on SSV network. So that on one hand you have this total protection through the operators. On the other hand, it is still non-custodial, and the keys are not somewhere in a centralized exchange or something like that.
Mm-hmm. No. All right, guys, let's move on to the last question, and then I'll leave you to it. Alon touched a bit about one of the fundamental points, I think, for myself behind SSV, and that's giving stage for more options. So if I go back in time, as a single standalone validator, and I had to go choose where to place my $120K and stake, I did my research and I made sure, obviously I personally am biased, but I made sure that wherever I end up putting my money, it's the most secure. So along the way, you stumble upon an interesting project or a nice mini paper that you read, for instance. But then at the end of the day, it's still $120K that you need to deposit into the hands of someone else that non-custodial, doesn't matter what it actually ends up doing. It's your money and it's going somewhere else or being used for something else. So that was limiting. But now there's the opportunity for people to, go for the big ones or the solid ones, but then diversify their operators by taking a smaller one with an interesting tech stack or an interesting concept for the future. And this is essentially what the Know Your Operator session is for, right? To give you the opportunity to explain about what you guys do, how you guys do it differently, and more importantly, why the SSV users or validators should choose you. So this is an open-ended question for you guys to explain, in your own words, why Blockscape, why you guys?
Yeah, we have a long track record in staking services. So we've been there for more than 4 years now, running validators in more than 50 networks over the last three years. Yeah, and security is the core of everything what we are doing, and reliability of the services is the most crucial point. We have excellent infrastructure in monitoring, and we have this long track record in staking, and this is the reason why we believe we can provide excellent service for stakers on our infrastructure.
That's a great answer. All right, and this was my last question for the day. Obviously, the video will be posted in the community, on the social channels and everything, so people will have the opportunity to ask you guys questions. You're obviously more than welcome to share your plans, ideas, questions with the community. I'm sure they would love to hear, especially from non-Ethereum guys and people coming in with the original POS, right? So
I think that's gonna haunt us, these non-Ethereum people.
I'm choosing my words carefully,
I know.
But it's been an absolute pleasure seeing, your perspective and hearing what you guys think about it. So thanks for coming. Thanks for joining.
Thank you,
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you very
And we'll
much.
be in touch
you very
soon,
much.
hopefully for the next Know Your Operator section. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
See ya.
Great time. Bye.